Hi, this is Little Dwarf playing games while rambling incoherently in the microphone. Why? Well, just because I can. Um, we're probably in the last episode of the regular campaign, as I am about to take back Khazad-Dum and thus fulfill the normal requirements of the campaign. So, fittingly enough, in the lore department, I'd also like to talk about endings in a way. Specifically, I'd like to talk about the ending to the Lord of the Rings. So it seems to be an obviously happy one, and in fact it is, because the Dark Lord Sauron is basically defeated. His armies of orcs are either slain or scattered, and the evil peoples of Haradrim and the Easterlings, they bow down to the authority of the reunited kingdom of both Gondor and Arnor, and basically all seems well. The good has prevailed and whatnot. So it may be surprising to learn that there was actually a sequel planned by Tolkien himself to the Lord of the Ring books that was very bleak and very dark and really ominous in a way, and that is what I'd like to talk about in this last final episode. So the sequel I am talking about, it never really went beyond an idea in Tolkien's plans. There are only about a dozen or so pages of the sort of first draft of this sequel. It was supposed to be called The New Shadow, and it was set to take place in the it was set to take place about 200 years after the events of the Lord of the Rings book, well into the reign of the descendants of Aragorn, and the sort of main plot of the sequel was supposed to be the rise of those mysterious cults, basically, and mysterious groups of people that were sort of bored and really grown complacent by the years of peace and all those talks about Sauron and about the evils of orcs and so on. They gradually became nothing more than legends, and as people became grown bored and complacent of the constant peace and the sort of everyday life in the days of the Fourth Age, they also became interested in some rather unsavory details of the past. They became interested in the dealings with the dark powers, in the sort of the allure of evil, and these dark cults became prevalent in the lands of Gondor. And as I said, it really never reached a point where it was more than a really basic idea. All we have is among 12 or so pages of the manuscript, but it was supposed to deal with this cult called the Dark Tree, because evil was likened by one of the characters in the sequel to a tree. It was like it always dwelt just beneath the ground. Its roots always sort of prevailed. Even if you cut down the tree, it would always grow back at some point, and even if the sort of obvious and outwards evil was defeated, there was always this possibility that it will rise again, because it is forever present in the hearts of men. So in a way, the sequel was supposed to deal with the fragility of men and with their, or should I say ours, like to our susceptibility to the ideas of evil, of tyranny, of asserting your dominance over others by means of strength, and of fascination with all those concepts. But Tolkien quickly abandoned this idea because he deemed it not worthy to explore. On which point I disagree with him really, because although it would obviously be a very different tale in tone to The Lord of the Rings, less heroic one and more of a dark fantasy, I myself think that it would be very interesting, and I would be very happy to have a chance to explore it, because I enjoy those sorts of stories that, in which basically it is in which evil is less of a concrete force that you battle and more of a part of yourself. It is evil is those dark desires that dwell in the heart of every man, basically. So it would be an interesting perspective for me to see Middle-earth in a way where
a great day is this,
where the heroes themselves basically are their own enemies, and in which evil comes not from the ranks of some abstract beings of metaphysical pure evil, but rather from the ranks of your own compatriots that have grown bored with with what they have, that always want to possess more, and that gradually lose themselves in this fascination with the forbidden fruit, with evil things, with evil dealings. And also, I think it would be, in a way, a really good continuation of those themes that were sort of alluded upon in the original Lord of the Rings, namely the obsession that men of Númenórean descent seem to have with death and with the possibility of avoiding death. So I could very well see, for example, those cults that were mentioned to be driven by the idea of avoiding death and of achieving immortality. And it could be that in the beginning they were driven by this sort of even altruistic idea to prolong the life of men and to ease their suffering as they reach their old age. But over time they would sort of sink deeper and deeper into more evil acts. So it's a pity, for me at least, that Tolkien never really considered expanding upon this idea of his. But I will link, as always, the appropriate links in the description, so that you can check for yourselves the remaining pages of the sequel that were recovered from the writings of Tolkien, as well as I will also link the mod to Rome 1 called The Fourth Age, Dominion of Men, which is taking place in, as you can probably guess, in the Fourth Age, and which sort of expands upon the ideas mentioned in the sequel, because the main antagonist in this mod is the faction of Adunabar, which is this sort of splinter faction of the United Kingdom of Gondor and Arnor. It is this sort of splinter faction that became enthralled by those dark cults and by the lore of the dark magic and those sort of things. So I will also link this mod in the description so that you may check it out if you want. Yeah, I myself am I enjoy dark fantasy a great deal more than I enjoy the regular sort of heroic fantasy tropes and stories. So to me, what was proposed by Tolkien to be the matter of the sequel really sounds quite interesting, and I do not agree with him in the slightest that it would be worthless to pursue those ideas. But unfortunately, as he is now dead by more than 40 years, if I'm counting it correctly, the proposed sequel will of course never reach the light of day. So we may only speculate and exchange our own sort of ideas and our own opinions on the matter. So if anyone has really watched up until this point, I am very interested to know your opinion on the proposed sequel, especially after you familiarize yourself, if you weren't earlier, with the materials I provide in the description. I would like to know, what do you think about it, and whether you would consider it to be an interesting read. So if anyone happens to come by this video and actually watch it, you can leave me a note in the comments or whatever. Maybe my original thought once deciding to make these videos was that probably the only people that would possibly watch it are either myself in the future or my relatives. Some of my relatives, when I'm already dead, they might stumble upon those videos of mine and watch them out of curiosity, to see what I was doing when I was a young man, and what was I into, and what were my thoughts about the various things I was doing while being a young man. So if this is the case, you might as well not leave the comment in the description, because at this point I am long since dead, so it is unlikely that I'll be able to actually read it. And I am not even sure if YouTube will be around at this point. But if it will not, then this whole speech is basically pointless, because this video will not exist for you to hear it. Yeah, but now I am really close to finally. I wonder if I should try to attack the settlement or wait. I am really close to finishing the regular objectives of the campaign, because as you can see, I am closing in on Moria. I will be able to assault it in the next turn, and that will fulfill the victory objectives set for the regular campaign. That will also conclude the sort of the episodes in which I share my opinions on lore and whatnot, because in the next episodes, in which I will try to conquer the rest of the map relentlessly driven by my
Unable to move.
OCD tendencies, which compel me to eradicate every single last one evil faction that is still on the map. Um, my commentary will be rather scarce and really concentrated upon the gameplay rather than sharing my opinions on the lore. So
Yes. Yes. Move out.
where is this? Oh, okay. This
General.
group is over here.
Destroy.
Yeah, so I will actually siege them because although it may seem that they have this really grand army compared
Lord.
to my few units,
Forward.
my units are actually of a really great quality. So especially
Lord.
the berserkers can rack up quite a body count if used in the right circumstances.
Move
So I will just take my risk, as I've often done
Besieging settlement.
in
Settlement
the
under
past,
siege.
and see what comes out of it. Meanwhile, this group will wait for reinforcements
Yes.
and then continue down south to conquer this settlement, and then this settlement, which I believe is the last of the Easterling settlements, thus eradicating another faction. So recruit here and recruit here and recruit here, okay, and recruiting here, okay, all right. Also repair the walls. How is Rohan doing?
Yes.
It seems they still cling on to the couple of the settlements, but most of them have already been conquered by the evil factions.
Lord.
Okay, that's enough for this.
Chief. March.
For this
No
turn,
more
it seems.
moves. Forward. Lord.
So let me end this turn.
We're besieged.
Yeah, it's a rather crappy general, so no. I will refuse this promotion. I am doing quite well on the financial front, though, which makes me very happy because I will need a lot of gold to sustain all the armies that I need on my way to conquer the rest of Middle Earth.
Chief. General. Forward.
Fortunately,
March.
I have those
No more moves.
roads built, which makes me a lot faster when I travel.
Yes. Forward. No more moves. General. Forward. Orders. Forward. General. March.
And you
General.
finally reach
Destroy.
Khazad-Dum.
Besieging settlement. Settlement under siege.
I will starve them out for a couple of turns, although I will probably also assault this settlement just to let you see the settlement map before I win the campaign.
Chief.
But
Forward.
as this episode is still quite short, I'd like to do a couple of other things before finishing it.
General. Move out. Forward. Forward.
So I will just make peace again
Awaiting
with
your
the
command.
Wood Elves,
I
mean the High Elves. And obviously they will attack me again in the next turn, because that's just what they do.
General.
Nothing I can really do about it.
Chief. Move out.
Okay, it seems that's everything for this.
Chief.
Oh no, I can
March.
still move
Unable
this
to move.
unit.
We're under siege.
Was I only betrayed by the elves or by the humans as well? No, only the elves.
My lord, I will talk to them.
Seems they will never
Move
grow
out.
bored of it.
Unable to move. Orders. Move. Impossible.
Oh, Mordor is actually taking this settlement. But I think I will regain it shortly. Construction. It seems I finished my building roster entirely in Erebor. Erebor and Gundabad. Okay,
Orders.
so
Orders. Orders. Orders.
I'll move further down south. Also, with this force, the large army of orcs seems to have retreated.
Move. Out of moves.
Oh, that might not have been the smartest thing I have ever done, but well.
Yes. Forward. Out of moves.
Now I will
Orders.
take some of mine,
Chief. Yes.
some of my units from over here,
General.
and
General.
move them down south
General. Orders.
to conquer
Combining troops. Unable to move. Orders.
this easterling settlement.
Move. March.
Although I might have as well first try to destroy this army, or I'll just let them to siege fruitlessly this town. We'll see about that.
Orders. Move.
You
Chief.
join him
Move out.
and march
Unable
south,
to move. Move. Move out.
and seems it's the end turn time
Chief. Chief.
again. Yeah, it is. So, end turn. And this battle will probably hallmark the end of the episode. As you can see, we are pretty evenly matched despite their obvious numerical advantage, because I really have the highest quality of troops, not only in the variety of them, but also in the in the attack and armor upgrades, as well as experience. So it will not be easy for the Easterlings to face this army. I wanted them to sally out just to make it a little easier on me, and to make them basically walk to me and let me flank them with my berserkers. Because they are best used when attacking from either the flank or the or the back. I'm a little worried by the chariots, but I will sacrifice this unit of human mercenaries to deal with the chariots, while using the berserkers to cut into the bulk of the easterly forces, which are so clumped up together that they will present an excellent target for the berserkers. As you can see, 40% of the enemy is already dead, while only 2% of my own troops have been slain. Unfortunately, this unit of berserkers decided to wander into the village center on their own and may end up dead as a result, but oh well.
The enemy general has fallen. The fortunes of war this day are with the dwarves.
As you can see, the easterling forces have been broken. Even more than that, they've been basically slaughtered almost to a man. It's really a great sight to behold. Some last remnants are still on the village center, but they stand no chance against my approaching soldiers. And I think it was the last major army of the Easterlings, so I think the remaining...
Bring out the ale! Our foes shall not return to their masters. Save their heads.
Yeah, now that is a heroic victory, if I've ever seen one. As you can see, the berserkers have really inflicted the majority of losses upon the enemy, as they tend to do it in such circumstances when the enemy is really close together.
We're under siege.
No. I'll retrain those just in case to avoid the public order penalties.
I will talk to them.
Because I need this particular settlement to maintain my victory conditions. I'll build the forge now. Also train additional archers. This army of Mordor seems to be heading north to try to threaten this settlement, but I just trained a couple of additional units, so they should be safe
Forward.
for the time being.
Build tower. Move out.
Unfortunately, I am now entering the region of Harad, which is really a vast desert, totally bereft of any roads, so traversing it will be very time consuming.
General.
Yeah, those three will join this settlement as protection, while over here I will build a couple of watchtowers and also employ mercenaries basically as town guardsmen for this small village. Mordor is taking an advantage of the vacuum left by the goblins to take additional land, but I will start pushing them back shortly. While those units may go south as well.
Forward! Unable to move. Forward! Orders? Forward! No more moves.
Yeah, I think that's all for this turn, although I am wondering if I maybe could march west from this settlement, but it'll probably be best if I wait for some more reinforcements before doing so. This village should be alright. Okay, have I made peace with the elves? Yes, I did. So it's the end turn.
We're under siege! We're under siege!
And once again, so yeah, the first thing is to make a ceasefire. And now I will build some additional elite troops because I can clearly afford them at this point. So why not? Those will join here and then try to push into Mirkwood, while you will march south.
Forward!
Yes! March! Unable to move. Move!
Now, unfortunately, this army cannot really... I will march them into... No, they cannot really take any lands that were natively held by an evil faction because they don't have a catapult. So sieging the town that was originally held by an evil faction will result in the activation of garrison script, which will give them a lot of additional units. So I need to train a catapult and send it to this army, and only then I will be able to... This seems to be marginally closer, so only then I will be able to conquer it in one turn, thus avoiding this. What else can I do here? Well, nothing it seems, so... How is Gondor doing? Seems to be in a little of a stalemate with Mordor at this point, because while while Gondor has not retaken Osgiliath, Mordor seems also unable to conquer Minas Tirith.
Orders?
The next batch of units I will send this way, but I'll wait for the Dragon Slayers to be finished before doing that. I will also train a couple of miners down here to help with the public order. Also here, it seems. The rest is alright for the time being.
Orders?
So, end turn. Oh, this is well, decent enough, General. So, and he spawned in Erebor as well, so I can send him with the next batch of units. You
Orders?
go to here,
Forward!
and also the goblins will sally out on the next turn, so I will just attack Moria on this turn to show you the battle map before officially
Move!
concluding the campaign.
General! March!
3 turns here. How about here? 1 turn here. So I also need... that was actually rather clever by the AI, because if I didn't notice that, I might have actually lost this small
Destroy!
engagement before, because they would have sieged me to the point of starvation. Obviously, sallying out is not the most optimal idea, but sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. And they don't really possess enough troops to seriously threaten me, especially given how their units are of really mediocre quality. Would probably be enough to have only those 3 vanguard units to deal with them. All the rest is just an addition, really. I will use the horsemen to run down the survivors so that this group is completely destroyed. As is my regular tactic. You can see my dwarven officer, who will no doubt get himself killed in a moment. But for now he is facing the Mordor banner carrier. I especially like the second one with the dismembered head on the banner. Oh, damn it, I forgot about those riders, so it seems my idea of chasing down the fleeing orcs with my riders is out of the window at this point. But still, I should really have no problem dealing with the remaining orcs.
Attack quickly.
And it seems the mercenaries on foot
Waiting
are
for
enough to chase down the fleeing ones, so unfortunately they are not enough to actually stand ground against them, but you can't really expect that much from regular humans.
Alas, a
Yeah.
great loss to the sons of the mountain halls. Our leader has been slain by our foes.
As I have foreseen, my officer has fallen in battle, but it should not really change the outcome at this point.
attack quickly.
Although this small group of vanguards is slowly getting overwhelmed by the orcs.
Attack quickly.
I didn't expect them to actually turn and face me. I wanted to deliver a nice charge in the backs.
Our enemy falters. Their leader lies dead, and now we shall make
Still, my
certain that they share the same
Remaining
fate.
units should be enough to deal with the orcs.
Get going.
Although they seem to be planning to enter my settlement. I'm really not sure, because you can never be sure what the AI is planning, really.
At last, we have proved our mettle. The cowards turn and run from our wrath.
Just running down those orcs to prevent the army from reforming. It's unfortunate that I forgot about those riders and let them get killed, because they might have been useful to me. Well, they might be useful. Well, I've forgotten the right conditional. No matter. I might. What I mean is that they would have been useful to me if I decided to confront the other armies of Mordor in the field later, which I without doubt decide to do, because
Hurry, move. Quickly.
as I mentioned, besides winning the campaign,
By
I also-
Thorin, the enemy lie dead, or else fleeing like cowardly little rabbits. A clear victory.
I also plan to kill every last evil army in Middle Earth, thus making Middle Earth great again. But I will do that in the additional episodes that I don't really expect anyone to watch. I will just do it for my own entertainment.
March! No more moves. Move out.
Yeah, so to end this episode and also to end the campaign, really, I will just quickly showcase the
Lord,
custom map for Khazad-Dum, for Moria, and with taking Moria, I should fulfill all of my campaign requirements for winning, and thus end both the campaign and this episode.
Units, on my orders! Units, forward! March!
Unfortunately, the camera is a little wonky on such custom maps. From what I know, it is also a problem in the Third Age, because the Total War engine wasn't really prepared to deal with such maps. But from what you can see, you have this really cool colonnade, which evokes this scene from the movie in which the Fellowship reaches this grand chamber, and Gandalf says something along the lines of, let me risk a little more light, and he shines his staff on these columns and reveals this huge chamber upon which the members of the Fellowship gaze in awe. I think there is also the Tomb of Balin somewhere around here. You can also see a couple of dwarven skeletons, which is a nice touch. Oh, actually, it seems the control point is maybe localized in Balin's tomb, although I do not. Yes, it is. Here it says Balin Fundinul Uzbad Khazad-Dumu, which translates to Balin, son of Fundin, Lord of Khazad-Dum. Those are the dwarven runes of Angerthas Moria, to which I will also post a link in the description. I mean the font that you can actually use on your computer. So you also have those sort of pathways over these huge chasms. I don't know if the Breach of Khazad-Dum is actually represented, although I suppose this is supposed to be it. Those galleries are a nice touch, because you can position for example, your archers or your axe throwers or your catapults over here and have a nice overarching view to the entrance where the enemy is entering. But sadly, it is a little hard to orientate yourself in such an environment, because, as I mentioned, the camera is not really intended to deal with things such as these. So but I still, even with all the camera problems, I'm still more impressed with these sorts of maps than with the actual maps of Dwarven strongholds that we got in the regular vanilla Warhammer Total War, which are really crappy considering they came from a professional developer with their own engine that was supposed to, you know, to be especially facilitated just to deal with all kinds of those really strange and original fantasy maps. So it was a great shame to me to see how poorly the Karaks, the Dwarven strongholds, were made in the vanilla Warhammer Total War. And once again, it was up to the modders to do them justice. So there is this few remaining goblins that are all that stands between us and the ending of this campaign. So let us descend upon them. Although they seem just as content to charge us.
A great day as this. The enemy leader has been reduced to a coward.
That is actually quite a nice camera point. Oh, and you can actually position your troops on these galleries as well, which is also a really cool. Oh, sadly, one of my generals died in this small engagement, which is a shame really, but oh well. You can also position for example, your archers here, which will make a fantastic position for defending the final control point of the city.
The enemy general has fallen. The fortunes of war this day are with the dwarves. At lo-
Yeah, and thus ends the campaign. As you can see, they probably either didn't have or forgot to put a proper ending video to it, but whatever. At least they have these really cool ending text. So that's all for this episode, as well as for the regular portion of the campaign. To all that actually stumbled upon this video and decided to watch it, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I hope that I've given you some information about Lord of the Rings that you found interesting, and as always, see you in the next one. Bye!